सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Okay, now to what we have done last time. Okay, I think we completed the 63rd verse in detail, or did we go ahead? What is the last verse last time? 63 only, na? Yes. Okay. Any questions, clarifications on this? Or is it all clear? Remember, there are two things said here. One is the lakshanas of a wise person. The other is the problem of the mind and handling the mind. So there are two aspects that are talked about. Last two, three verses was most in terms of handling the mind. Okay. And the next couple of verses, he will, 2-3 verses, he will be completing that. Completing that section. Okay. So let us look at it. If there is no doubts in terms of, see, why so much is being said about the wise person. Because nobody is going to go and check out, is the person wise or not? You cannot. If you look at the Lakshana, it takes a wise person to recognize another wise person. Even that is a qualified statement. Then the question is, why say it all this? It is like painting the gold, so that I know what I can potentially become. This is my potential. This is what I can be. All I have to do is know myself. So if a wise person looks appealing enough for you, the description looks appealing enough, this is what you are. Pending knowledge, this is what you are. All you have to do is gain that knowledge. Then this is your natural state of affairs. This is how you are going to be. So this is giving you a motivation to know yourself. Not yes for moksha after death, but how living you can live a life of freedom and joy. That's the whole thing. Yeah. Then going ahead in the 64th verse, continuing the idea of handling the mind, etc. He says, Ragadvesha viyuktaistu Vishayanindriyan sharan Atma vashehi vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. Ragadveshehi viyuktaihi. Viyuktaihi, free from ragadveshas. Vishyan Indriyes Sharan, he moves about in the field of sense objects. Okay. Who's moving around? The whole world is moving around. Atma Vashehe Vide Atma, with the mind, etc., under one's control, under one's mastery. Then what? Prasadam adhigacchati, he says. He gains jnana prasadam. The prasada in the form of knowledge he gains. Alright. That means what? In the previous verse he had shown how without this knowledge, how without this mastery of the mind, you have a problem on hand. How you have become a victim to your own desires. Having a desire is one thing, being a victim to your own desire is another thing. A mind was given to you to be able to handle things in the world. And if that mind starts victimizing you, my God, it is something like the dog has a tail. As long as the dog is wagging the tail, it looks beautiful. But if the tail starts wagging the dog, the tail is stiff and the dog is being wagged about. That dog cannot afford that tail. Similarly, if our minds start wagging us, cannot afford that. Okay. Therefore, he says all this. And what happens? Prasadam adhigacchati, he says, if you have a mastered mind and then you are being exposed to this knowledge, prasadam adhigacchati. All you gain is jnana prasadam. And what happens with this jnana prasadam? Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanihi yasya upajayate prasanna chetasa yashu buddhihi paryavatishtate. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanihi yasya upajayate. The jnana prasad, or the mind is calm, peaceful, mastered. In that mind, when the knowledge is taking place, sarva dukkhanam hanihi yasya upajayate. All your dukkha's, existential and otherwise, tasya hanihi, are destroyed, negated, iti upajayate. Prasanna chetasa yashu. And when your mind has got that prasannata, buddhihi paryavatishtate. Buddhihi, your buddhihi jnane paryavatishtate. Your knowledge becomes very, very clear. You gain rooted in this knowledge. The whole thing depends upon how you handle your mind. If you are studying Vedanta with a mastered mind, it's a cakewalk. Moksha is a given. There is no reason why you can't gain moksha in this life. Really. No reason at all. In fact, I am not surprised that people are gaining it. I am surprised that people are not gaining it. You have that Viveka, Vairagya, all that we have seen previously. Samadama, Titiksha, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhanam, you have. A strong desire for moksha, mumukshutvam, you have. There is no reason. There is absolutely no reason why you will not gain moksha. So when people say it is difficult, can't get it, can't do that, it just shows that all their lives they have been living with a mind that is not mastered. Their mind is not mastered. You are being victimized by your own mind. It's a tragic state to be. Imagine to be victimized by your own mind. What can be worse than that? What can be worse than that? Your own mind is victimizing you. That. And some of these ads, etc., glorify that. To glorify a product. Kurkure of all things. क्या करूँ, कंट्रोल नहीं हो पा रहा है. What is this? You can't control the amount of kurkure you eat, then what is your life worth? Nobody can eat just one. What do you mean nobody can eat just one? I mean, this is glorifying a product by putting down your mind. Therefore, people who say it's difficult is because they do not handle their mind, that's all. Master your mind. Do whatever is necessary to master that mind. It is not all that difficult as it seems. It is not all that difficult as it seems. Not all that difficult as it seems. It takes, later on the 6th chapter he says, some abhyasa and some vairagya, some sense of objectivity with how you are looking at all these things. That's all. Are you saying, oh, that'll be fun, or saying, hey, that's fine, that's great, but that's all. That doesn't dictate terms to me. I decide what I want to do. That's all the difference is. Some objectivity and some exercise and restraint. Some little bit of development of your will. That's why most religious practices are all about development of will. We criticize a lot in Islam And there may be things that are to be criticized also. But look at, the people who are keeping the roza in Ramzan, they gain my respect. In this heat, Agni Nakshatram is on. Can you imagine from dawn to dusk, they don't even take water? Forget food. Not one water. What a will. What a will. Take something. You take something. What a will there is there. Yeah. Therefore, all of us develop that mastery over the mind. Yeah. Don't have to be so harsh or make it so difficult, but in a much easier manner, in a gentler manner, take care of that mind and handle that mind. Any questions on this? Or am I just hearing some noises? That's all. Okay, no questions?
Swamiji,
Yeah?
your video is frozen, Swamiji. You're not able to do.
Can't see my video.
Yes, it's kind of frozen from the beginning.
How is it now? Is it okay now?
Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Because people have been joining in a bit late, so I had to keep going into the waiting room. So I think when I'm in the waiting room, you won't be able to see it. Yeah.
Swamiji, lot of disturbance also. Can we please request other participants to mute it?
Yeah, I think some people have not muted their mics. Yeah. If I have to mute, I'll have to go into the waiting room again. You will have a problem. Yeah. Okay. Then he is giving you the other side of the picture. Okay. He is giving you the other side of the picture. Nasti buddhi ayuktasya nacha ayuktasya bhavana nacha bhavayataha shantihi ashantasya kuta sukham. Ayuktasya buddhi nasti. By buddhi he means this jnanam, okay, this knowledge. Buddhi is a term that can be used for your brains, for your buddhi, your intellect, your reasoning. It can be also used for your knowledge. It can be used for both. Who is making that racket? Please mute your phone. He says, Ayuktasya.
Swamiji,
Yeah?
on the chat, somebody's asked a question.
Beg your pardon?
On the chat, somebody's asked a question. Ashish Sethi has asked a question on the chat. He has asked, can a wise person have regrets?
Can a wise person have
Regrets.
regrets? Regrets over what? You know, your guilt, pain, hurt, regrets, etc. are taken care of as a student itself. Because if you don't take care of these things, then how are you going to gain that prashanta manasaha, that mastered mind? What is it that I regret? Something you didn't do? Something that you lost out in life? Silly. Why? It's something like this. I want to point out how silly most regrets are. Okay? This kid was sitting in my youth workshops. Young girl, working, 22 or so. Okay. 22-year-old kid. Okay. And she had a big regret. She expressed it in the class. What was that? Her mother never allowed her to learn swimming as a child. Okay. Understandable regret. She wanted to learn swimming. Her mother, for whatever reason, God knows, whatever reason, didn't allow her to learn. And naturally, if she's a child, and the mother refuses to pay the fees, etc., child cannot go and learn swimming. Parents have a great control that way. So I said, but now you are working, you have your own finances, etc. What is preventing you from learning now? Oh, now it is too late. What is too late? 22 is too late to learn swimming. 60 is too late to learn swimming. Is 80 too late? If there are certain things that you have not done in your life, do it now if you can. Or learn to let go of it. It's okay. They were the dreams of my past. I had new dreams, new goals, and now I achieved the greatest goal of all. I wanted freedom from my sense of limitation. I have got that. If I have got that, what is the regret after that? No real regret. There can be a passing thought. It would have been nice if I had done that. It would have been nice if I could have done those things. That feeling it is nice is not really a regret. Just a passing thought that a wise person may have. Okay? Exactly like how you can have nostalgia, how you can have a desire. All these become non-binding. They are non-binding. So really a wise person also cannot have that type of a regret which is binding in nature. No. Those type of things, yeah. So, no real regrets, okay? I hope that answers your question. If there is any further, ask. Okay. Therefore, now back to the verse. Nasti buddhi ayuktasya. This jnanam, this knowledge, atma jnanam, ayuktasya nasti. For someone who is not together, integrated, for someone who is not at peace, someone who is not a yukta, who doesn't have a prasanta chetasa, who doesn't have that integration of personality, nasti. Alright, but I got insights because of traditional teaching. The strength of the traditional teaching is such that even if I don't have a clear-cut mind, I will still get insights. So with meditation, I can strengthen that. Na chayuktasya bhavana. Nididhyasanam is also not possible. So some simple preparatory meditations you can do to prepare your mind. That's always available. But here when he says bhavana, he is talking about contemplation. Contemplation meaning nididhyasanam, owning up the truth in meditation. Both these type of meditation we will do later when it comes to the 6th chapter which talks about meditation. You see? Nacha ayuktasya bhavana. Nacha bhavayataha abhavayataha shanti. And if you had gone contemplate etc., where is peace? The promised peace and full freedom? Not there. And ashantasya kutas sukham. And if that peace, shanti of the mind is not there, that shanti, that of your Swarupa is not understood, how can he be happy in life, he says? How can he be a happy, fulfilled person? In short, he is highlighting the importance of mastering your mind. Samadama, uparati titiksha. Samadama, mastering your mind. Dama at the level of physical level, discipline, etc. Uparati karma yoga nishtha. Titiksha, being able to put up with the pinpricks of life, including the lockdown, etc. Shraddha, astikya buddhi, the trust and confidence in the teaching, in the Shastra. Samadhanam, forbearance, acceptance of people, etc. And Viveka Vairagya, clear-cut knowledge. If all this is there, knowledge will take place. That's what mastery is about. So that is the thing that the student has to cultivate. That's why one of the first things I did was with you all was to do that. Handling the mind, I gave you all that handouts, etc. How to master that mind? Simple REBT, rational emotive thinking. How to change your feelings, etc., by changing your thinking, etc. To be aware of what is happening inside and to deal with it. These things become absolute basic. Absolute basic these things become. Because without that, you cannot build the superstructure of this knowledge. Cannot be built if this is not there. Therefore, mastery of the mind, and mastery of the mind doesn't come in isolation. A social isolation it can come because you have to put up with the same faces 24 hours, 7 days a week, 2 months at least. So then it can come. Okay, lot of accommodation, etc. Your maid is having your salary because you're supposed to pay the maid. I do. And who's doing the maid's work? You. Lot of kshanti, accommodation, samadhama, everything will come in. Everything will come in. Why? Because life gives you enough opportunities. Life will give you enough opportunities to cultivate this. And this is cultivated by living a life. This is not cultivated in isolation. If you live a cave in the Himalayas, you won't cultivate these things. If you want to go and live in the Himalayas, cultivate this and go. Otherwise, you will end up fighting with every tree there. Otherwise, you will be full of a lot of regrets. I should have done this in life. I should have done that in life. Otherwise, you can go there, been there, done that. Now I am free to learn. I am free to learn. That's it. Okay. Therefore, these are verses which are highlighting the importance of mastering the mind. Okay. Therefore, now again the flip side is showing. Indriyana vicharatam yan mano anuvidiyate tadasya harati prajnam vayurnavam divambasi. Indriyanam hi charatam. Wherever the sense organs go, perception, etc., wherever they go, Indriyanam charatam, yan manaha anuvidiyate, and the mind follows it. Hey, nice, just see, look at that. Very nice. Hey, that's nice. See the smell, so beautiful. How wonderful it will taste. Mind goes with everything when the mind goes. It says anuvidiyate. Tadasya harati prajnam. His knowledge, etc., his buddhi. Okay, his buddhi, prajnam here is buddhi, your thinking, etc. Harati. Vayur navam iva ambasi. Navam iva ambasi. Like the wind will carry away a small boat, he says, in the ocean. A small boat. How it will be carried away by the wind. You know, I have faced storms. One of the ships I had 10,000 tons. Okay, huge engines, great horsepower, 50,000 horsepower, all that. Great. One storm and you are blown 50 miles off course. Imagine a ship that weighs 10,000 tons. 50 miles off course, one night of storm. What will happen to a boat? What will happen to your knowledge, etc.? When all the time you are giving in to your sense pleasure, all the time. You are sitting down quietly reading, suddenly you hear the sweets meat that's there in the fridge calling you, come and get me, and you go. Hey, you're supposed to be sitting here, but okay. Yeah. After some time something else, I'm talking of simple things. Most of us are caught up in bigger things. Simple things itself is a problem. Bigger things will be a greater problem. Okay? Yeah. Like a colleague at work, etc., can be a big problem. Okay? So be careful of that. Same thing. The idea is the same thing. If your mind is not mastered, anything can carry your mind away. And then people come and tell me, Swamiji, what to do? It happened. What do you mean it happens? By itself? Huh? It happens means you have no clue what is happening inside. Nothing happens outside unless your mind cooperates with that. And if your mind is trained to give in to your sense organs all the time, then lot of things will happen without your control. Whereas if your mind is trained to rule the sense organs, then everything will happen only by your choice. Not helplessly. Not helplessly. Because you decided to go on those lines. Okay. That is what he is saying in the next verse. Indriyana, okay, anuvidhi tadasya harti prajna vairunga. Tasmadasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvashaha indriyani indriyarthebhyaha tasya prajna pratishtita. Tasmad he mahabaho, mighty armed Arjuna, therefore, okay, asya nigrihitani sarvashaha. One who has mastered the mind in all circumstances. Mind is mastered. Mind listens to me, I don't have to listen to the mind. That's all. Mastery is not just about saying no to everything. Mastery is also consciously saying yes to all the right things. It's about saying no to what should not be, yes to what should be. Both are important. Okay? Indriyani indriyarthebhyaha, he says. So wherever necessary, when your mind is restrained from mechanically following the objects of sense pleasure, but consciously things are done, then tasya prajna pratishtita. That person, when he gains the knowledge, that knowledge will automatically, he will be steady in it. Why? Your mind is steady. Your mind is mastered. Your mind is under your mastery. Remember, I am using the word mastery, not mere control. Control is by mere act of will. Certain amount of will is necessary to handle the mind. Yes, definitely. But mastering the mind is much more than will. It is training, educating, developing certain positive ways of thinking and doing. Educating the mind. Yeah, that's entirely different. Many of us, for example, are sweet lovers. Therefore, educate their mind, not to gobble up the sweets, whatever is there. But say sweets are good for the tongue. They are not necessarily good for your blood sugar. They are not necessarily good for your health. You eat sugar, you eat the sweets, not for the sake of your stomach, but for the sake of your tongue. Therefore, your stomach should have food, and then you take a small bit of sweet, small piece. That much is fine. Then the sweet can remain in your fridge for a week and you are fine. I can't keep it for a week. I have to gobble it up fast. No, keep it, let it be. That is called mastery. Gobbling it up fast and saying, no sweets now I am fine. I won't eat it for a week. Why? Because I go shopping only once a week. I won't pick up any sweets for 1 week. That is not mastery. Though that can become the beginning of mastery, that I don't keep sweets at home, therefore I am not tempted. Even if I am tempted, there is nothing. That is only the beginning. Dissociating yourself from the object. But mastery really would imply that you consciously can indulge in it within healthy limits and withdraw from it before it crosses those limits, and be at peace. Be at peace. In fact, only then you can really enjoy it. People ask me all the time, Swamiji, you love sweets? I said, of course I love sweets. Chocolates, jalebi, anything. Any type of sweets, I love them. And when I go for Bhiksha, Swamiji, have some more now, you like it? Said, no, this much is fine. Why? I want to enjoy eating sweets all my life. Therefore, I don't want to abuse my body and make it unhealthy enough to be able to handle sweets. I will keep my body healthy enough to be able to handle sweets all my life. Sensible, isn't it? Sensible. You can have your cake and eat it too if you have only little bit of the cake. So mastery of the mind comes there. When you learn to consciously indulge in it, at the same time consciously withdraw from it before you cross any limits. I hope I am making it clear enough. I have given an example of the sweet, whether it is something small like that or something huge, any other temptation you meet at work, etc., the thing is the same. Mastery of the mind is the same. Therefore, yasya nigrihitani sarvashaha, that person says, indriyani indriyarthebhyaha, the various sense organs, etc., from their respective activities, if the mind can hold them back when necessary, consciously indulge when necessary. When your mind is like that, tasya prajna pratishtita. For that person, this knowledge, you will become rooted in this knowledge very fast. No problems. Why? Your mind listens to you, and you told your mind, hey, you are nothing but Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman. It's all very clear. You have handled all doubts. You have sat down in meditation and known it. Abhi kya baat hai? Your mind is so well disciplined, it will always function with this knowledge in the background. When you are discussing, reading, etc., the knowledge will come up in the foreground. Otherwise, it will remain in the background. Always there. Never out of sight, never out of mind. They will always be there. Having said this much is for the mastery of the mind. Any questions or clarifications up to here? Because now he is going to go back after this to the description of a wise person. So you all want any clarifications or are there any doubts to be asked? Ask now. No one asking, therefore I presume that it's all clear, okay? Or you will think about it and come back next time with whatever question you have, okay? Because these are all simple questions, all forming one section, okay? Then the 69th verse, he describes the wise person in a very offbeat manner, okay? Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagriti samyami yasyam jagriti bhutani sa nisha pashyate munehe. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam, what is night for everyone? Tasyam jagriti samyami, that's the time when the wise person is awake. And yasyam jagriti bhutani, and when what is wakefulness to everyone? Sa nisha pashyate mune. That is night for this wise person. It's a great description. I am sure your teenage son will enjoy this. Why? You wake up in the night and sleep during the day. There is an old song like that. Bombay se aaya mera dost. Dost ko salam karo. Remember? रात को खाओ पियो, दिन को आराम करो. This looks like that at first glance, okay? You'll always find verses like this in the Gita. Suddenly something is said in a controversial manner, so that if you have been mechanically reading it, you will stop and say, hey, what is happening here? Hey, what is happening here? Yes, this is a verse like that. That which is like darkness to everyone. What is darkness to everyone? That I am Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman is not known to many people, known to a handful only. That this Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman is the basis for the whole creation, not known. That is in darkness for everyone. And that is clear as daylight. Knowledge is the light. Clear as daylight for the person who knows the truth. Samyami, he was mastered his mind, etc. For that person, it's as clear as daylight. And yeah, yasyam jagriti bhutani. What the people are awake to? What? Finitude, grief, sorrow, pain, regret. Sa nisha pashyate muni. That's all seen in darkness. The wise person is free from all that. He knows that's all a product of ignorance only. He doesn't have it. All that guilt, hurt, pain, etc. I don't have it. I perceive that to be a product of ignorance. So the wise person is awake to the knowledge which other people are sleeping to. And what other people are awake to, the wise person is free from all that. Completely free from all that. So that is what this verse is saying, that the difference between the wise and the other wise. Okay? One lives in sorrow, the other lives in freedom. One lives in bondage, the other is living in freedom. One is living in ignorance, the other person is living in knowledge. One is living with a whole load of subjectivity, while the wise person is totally objective. Yeah. Looking at a wise person, it is tempting to say, how can the wise person be that objective? He is a human being after all. Yeah, because he has a big picture. You don't understand how objective that the person can be, because we are all stuck in our subjectivities. It was very difficult to see what a person with a vision of the whole will have. Very difficult to see. But that's where it is. Yeah, that's where it is. Therefore, to live in light, it's your choice. You want to live in light and freedom, or you want to live in darkness and ignorance and bondage. Choose. Okay. Simple verses, there is nothing complex about it, but important verses at the same time. Okay. And in the next verse, he gives you one of the best descriptions possible. Best description possible of what a wise man's heart is, of what the wise person's heart is. Okay, look at the verse here. Apuryamanam achalam pratishtam samudramapah pravishanti yatvat tadvat kamaha ye pravishanti sarve sa shantim apnoti na kama kami. Apuryamanam. Hey, this is the time of corona. I know you can't transmit it across the airwaves, but at least you can mute your mic when you're coughing. Okay. Apuryamanam. Full and complete. Okay. Brimful. Cup of joy is full. Apuryamanam. Achalam. Immovable. Nothing to disturb it. Achalam pratishtam. What? Samudram. Apaha pravishanti yatvat. Whether the rivers come in, apaha, the waters, rain waters, rivers come in or don't come in, the ocean is always full and complete. Today this last season there was drought. Less water flowed into the Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean is still Indian Ocean, not less. Oh, this last time it was flooded. The whole country was flooded. Lot of waters, flood waters flowed into the Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean is still the same. Apuryamanam achalam pratishtam. Tadvat kamaha pravishanti sarve. Tadvat in the same manner. Okay. Whether desirable objects come into this wise person or don't come in. Because an object can give you pleasure, etc. Therefore, whether they come in or they don't come in. Sa shantim apnoti. The wise person is at peace. Gets good things, doesn't get good things. Sa shantim. Na kama kami. That is not the state of a person who's desiring kamaha. What? Desirable objects. Desirable objects are desired. Kami meaning one who desires. What? Kamaha. Kamaha is not desire. Nobody desires. People have a desire for desirable objects, for what you consider desirable. Therefore, the kama kami doesn't have that fullness. See, this is the best verse possible. It is describing what a wise person is. Pleasant things, good things, bad things, ugly things, whatever comes. Are you full and complete? Are you Ananda? Yes. That is the real Lakshana. That is the real Lakshana of a wise person. Completely at peace. It is not that, no. When you think like that, you will think the wise person has to be someone like Mr. Spock from Star Trek or Data from Star Trek Next Generation. There has to be no emotions on his face. Whether whatever happens, he will be the same, speaking in a robotic voice. No change of expression. Someone cracks a joke, he says okay. Someone says sorrowful things has happened, okay. Happy things, someone's wedding, okay. Someone's funeral, okay. That is not a wise person, okay. That's an idiot. That's an idiot, emotionally dead person. Let us say, here is a season where the ocean is as calm as a mill pond. Calm, peaceful, not a flip. 4-0. How storms are graded. This is 0 force. Not even a ripple across the surface. It's full, calm, complete. And let us say next month, rainy season starts. Storms, the whole ocean is raging with storm. Waves and things. 100-foot high waves. Stormy condition. Is there more water? Or is it the same full and complete? The ocean is the ocean. The surface is a huge rage of waves, etc. And 1 mile down, in the depths of the ocean, not a ripple. Similarly, the wise person, you can be roaring with laughter. Calm, peaceful. You can be riding into a battle, like how Bhishma, with a Simhanada, with roaring and striking down soldiers left, right, center. Whoever comes in his track is burnt, finished. Completely. Destruction. Like a human god of death dancing on the battlefield. 1 battalion was what he destroyed every day. 1 battalion. Calm, peaceful inside. No regrets, no anxiety, no worry, no guilt, only compassion. What a pity that these people had. Ananda Sarupa. That is a wise person. A good question. If Bhishma was a wise person, why did he choose the side of Adharma? To an extent, I had handled this in the introduction, where I said all his life he had lived by his word. You know, 2 incidents happened in Bhishma's life. One was when he discovered his father Shantanu was in love with Matsyagandha, Satyavati. She was no more Matsyagandha at that time. Because of Parashara's blessings, she was Satyavati. So at that time he made a promise to her father that I will have no stakes of the kingdom, nor will I have children who will claim a stake in the kingdom. He made that promise. Good enough. Years later, 2 young princes are born to Shantanu, and King Shantanu has fallen ill. He is lying on his deathbed almost. He doesn't know what to do, how to handle it. Everyone is worried. There is a lot of strife in the kingdom. All the nobles and the knights are thinking, these princes are too small. They will not be able to rule this country. The moment Shantanu dies, let us finish off these 2 kids for the sake of the kingdom. Then Bhishma will be forced to rule, and there cannot be a better ruler than Bhishma. This strife is going on. All this politics is going on. when Krishna Dvipayana, the youngster, not yet Vedavyasa, still the young man, he walks in to Hastinapura looking for someone who will help him establish dharma, help him revive the Vedic tradition that was lost in years of battle. But he comes to see the greatest ruler in Aryavarta lying sick at. So he plays the role of the healer and he heals Shantanu. And Shantanu is pulled back. To cut the long story short, Bhishma places this problem in front of him and says, this is the problem of the politics. The princes are in danger because you don't know when what will happen to them. So Vyasa gives him a solution. Simple. Sorry, Krishna Dvipayana, not yet Veda Vyasa. Gives him a simple solution. He says, when the next assembly happens, that is whenever the king calls it, now, tomorrow, day after, repeat your vow in public that you will not claim the throne, nor are you going to have a children to claim the throne. Add one more. Whoever sits on the throne of Hastinapura, your sword will be in his service. Once that vow was taken, then there was no more strife and politics in the kingdom, because to go against the princess would mean to go against Bhishma. Nobody wants to face Bhishma like that. If the princes are killed, be careful. Why? Bhishma will get you. If the Lord doesn't get you before that, Bhishma will get you. There is no choice, there is no escape for you. Therefore, all the strife, etc., dries down. And for 3 generations, this man who actually wanted to go and study Vedanta, become a monk, this man kept the country growing for 3 generations. He held the country together. And in the process, he gained his wisdom. Nobody knew that part of him. They recognized Krishna as the Bhishma, the warrior. They recognized Bhishma, the statesman. They recognized Bhishma, the all-powerful one. They did not recognize Bhishma as a wise person. That came much later, when he is lying on the bed of arrows, waiting for death to come, waiting for the stars to change so that he can leave this body and go. So, he had 2 choices in front of him. He tells that to Yudhishthira later, when the battle is progressing. He says, either I can break my promise, my word, or I can live and die by my word. He says, all these years, for 3 generations I lived by my word. Why should I stop living by my word now? The legacy I leave behind will be that Bhishma lived by his word. Much more than Bhishma the warrior, what will be left behind will be Bhishma who lived by his word. So when later on, the Pandavas go and ask him during the battle, says, grandfather, what can we do? He laughs and says, yes, the doors of Hastinapura are closed for you as long as I am alive. And Yudhishthira says, but then grandfather, our dharma will not win. He says, yes, that is true. The only way dharma will win is if you remove me from the scene. He says, nobody can fight and win against you. He looks at Krishna and laughs. He says, ask Krishna, he will tell you. He will remind you of another word I have given, that I will not fight anyone who is a woman or born like a woman. That's how the strategy was devised, how to knock off Bhishma. There is no other way. There is no other way. His personal capacity was so huge. He had developed his competency to such an extent that even fate had to bow in front of him. that death would go in front of him. Death will not come to him unless he called for it. So, Bhishma, the wise person, had to support the wrong side. Chose to. In his freedom, he did that. And in his freedom, he decided it is time for me to quit. Both ho gaya. I held the thing together for 3 generations. I have lived by the sword. Let me die by the sword. Before my muscles become old and useless. Remember, he was more than 150, 165 or something on the battlefield of Mahabharata. Okay? He's an old man. He says, but before my muscles become useless and I am incapable of lifting my bow and things like that, before I can fight a warrior's, let me have a warrior's death. Can you see the freedom that the wise person has? Freedom to do, freedom to die, both. He could have walked away from it all. He chose to do some things. Whereas his companion, his friend for generations, Vedavyasa, chose the spiritual way and set up the ashrams and things like that. And thank God, because without Vedavyasa, none of this would be available for us. The Brahma Sutras, the analysis of the whole Veda, the books of learning, the Sutra literature, the whole Mahabharata, the Puranas, the Gita, all this would not have been available if Vyasa did not do what he did. So maybe the story of Vyasa will depend upon, we will see how the Guru Purnima celebrations are going to be held this year. There is still time, July 4th or 5th days. There's a lot of time. Whether it has to be online or in person, we will take a call later. That time maybe I will share some of more of Vyasa to you all. But until then, understand, this is the freedom a wise person has. 2, either walk away from it all. Shuka, his son, did that, walked away from it all. Whereas Vyasa did all this. Bhishma chose to rule. It doesn't matter how you live, what is in your heart. There is a beautiful verse here like this. Krishna bhogi shukas tyagi nripo rama janakau vasishta karma karta cha panchete jnanina smrta. Look at the lifestyle. Krishna was a bhogi. Every fun in life he has had. Bhogi. Shukaha was a tyagi. Complete tyaga. Nothing. Rama and Janaka were kings. Vasishta was a karmata. He used to do a lot of rituals and things like that. In fact, a lot of his rituals, etc., are set up by Vasishta. Vasishta karma karta. 3 different lifestyles, 4 different lifestyles. All these 5 are jnanis, he says, wise people. So it is not the lifestyle, it is not how you are leading that is the lakshana of a wise person. Jnanam jnaninaha lakshanam. Jnanam sannyasa lakshana. Knowledge is the lakshana of a wise person. Wisdom is the lakshana. What else can be the lakshana? How do you define a wise person without wisdom? So the wisdom itself is indication of the wise person. Number 1. Number 2, here says what is in his heart. Is he living in freedom? Apurya manam achala pratishtam samudra mapaha pravishanti. Because you are the same, it doesn't matter. So many things are desirable, you don't get it, so big deal. You have it, big deal. Enjoy it. If you have it, you enjoy it. If you don't have it, you don't enjoy it. You are full and complete. The presence or absence of things do not do anything to your heart. Your heart is full and complete. You are Ananda. That fact that you are Ananda is not negated by the presence or absence of anything. It's always the same. You are living in freedom. You are living in a fullness. With that fullness that is there in you, there is a sense of completeness. Are you a perfectly accomplished human being? No, you may have a lot of flaws. It's okay. You are comfortable with it. There may be a lot that is not correct about your body. That's okay. A lot which is not correct in terms of your mind. Okay. A lot that's not correct in terms of your energy. It's okay. There may be a lot of things you are ignorant about other than knowledge. That's okay. Do you know what it really matters? Yep. I am free and complete. That's all that matters. If that matters, you're fine. Otherwise, it'll be like this small story that is there, This great scholar, Vidwan, Pandita, academician, was in a boat. So he asked the boatman, have you studied the Veda, etc.? He says, no, sir. Quarter of your life is gone, wasted. Okay. At least have you studied Vyakaranam, all the elaborate mystery, intricacies of Sanskrit grammar, etc.? No. Another quarter gone, half gone. Okay, you are not studying grammar. Because without the grammar you can't study the Shastra. At least have you learned some Sahityam, literature, culture, etc.? No. 3/4 of your life is gone. Have you... The boatman says, sir, wait. What happened? Have you studied Tarana Vidya? Tarana Vidya is swimming. Okay. Have you studied swimming? No. I'm sorry, sir. The boat is leaking. All your life is gone. I can't carry you and your books and everything across the river. I will have to swim and save myself. You are gone. So that is the difference. The main Vidya, do you know what is necessary at that moment? In Samsara, the Tarana Vidya is Vedanta, the Gita, etc. That is called Tarana Vidya, Taraka Vidya, the one that helps you cross over the ocean of Samsara. If you know that, you are free. Otherwise you are normal. And what is normal is very pitiable. But you can turn around and say, but Swamiji, everything is fine with my life. Yeah, that is true. In my personal experience with things, I encourage a lot of people to be physically fit. Because that's a value, I think, which is in today's world necessary more than ever. They say, Swamiji, I'm fine, I'm okay. I don't have any illness or something. No? They give me the medical definition. Health is freedom from illness. That's very relative. I mean, it's an important definition, but very, very minimum requirement for health. So I say, hey, you need much more than that, Baba. Then sometimes some of them will take up and they'll become fit. It's only then they come back and tell me, I don't know how I lived before. I thought I was healthy, I was not. Now, I am enjoying life so much more. Previously, they thought they were okay. It took them some time to realize they are not okay. And then they discovered it. Similarly, in Vedanta, once you come to this knowledge and you gain this knowledge, you wonder how you lived without this knowledge. How you lived, you don't know. There's a huge difference between living in bondage, living in ignorance of the self, and living in freedom. I want you all to think about that difference. In the way the goal is painted here. Because that will motivate you to take up the studies much more seriously. And it's important to take the studies seriously and gain this knowledge. Because it's a huge difference. Yanisha Sarvabhutesha, that's what it is. And the wise person's heart, full and complete, irrespective of what happens. That is what one is trying to know, what is trying to get. That freedom. And I would really love for all of you to enjoy that freedom. It's possible. Pending knowledge. Just pending self-discovery, that's all. That knowledge, that freedom is very well within the reach of every human being. There are no questions or clarifications, a good place to stop. Any questions, any clarifications, or all of you are fine with it? Okay, if you are fine, Om Tat Sat, we'll see you all next time.